Nebraska City is a city and county seat of Otoe County, Nebraska, United States. As of the 2010 census, the city population was 7,289. The Nebraska State Legislature has credited Nebraska City as being the oldest incorporated city in the state, as it was the first approved by a special act of the Nebraska Territorial Legislature in 1855. Nebraska City is home of Arbor, the Missouri River Basin Lewis and Clark Center, and the Mayhew Cabin, the only site in the state recognized by the National Park Service as a station on the Underground Railroad. History. Early European-American official exploration was reported in 1804 by Lewis and Clark as they journeyed west along the Missouri River. They encountered many of the historic Native American tribes whose ancestors had inhabited the territory for thousands of years. During the years of early pioneer settlement, in 1846 the U.S. Army built Old Fort Kearny at Nebraska City. Several years later, the Army abandoned it to relocate the fort to central Nebraska, now south of present-day Kearny. Shortly after the post was vacated, John Bulwer developed an important river crossing and ferry service from Iowa to present-day Nebraska City. He and his father expanded the business and in 1852 or 1853 built a ferry house, the first residence in Nebraska City. In 1854 the Kansas-Nebraska Act allowed legal settlement in the regional area. 3 townships were incorporated by settlers including Stephen Nuckols, one of the fathers of Nebraska City. Nebraska City and Kearny City were incorporated in 1855, and South Nebraska City was incorporated in 1856. During those years, Nebraska City competed fiercely to become the Nebraska Territory capital. On December 31, 1857, these 3 town sites along with Prairie City joined, incorporating as present-day Nebraska City. Before the American Civil War, Nebraska City was noted as having the territory's largest population of slaves. Many worked on the riverfront as laborers, involved with moving freight and luggage associated with steamboat traffic. By the mid-19th century, steamboats on the Missouri River were the vitalizing force behind Nebraska City's growth, bringing commerce, people and freight to the west. In the spring of 1858, Russell, Majors and Waddell started freighting from Nebraska City on a government contract to transport all provisions for all western forts. The supplies were brought up the Missouri River by steamboat and then taken out by wagon train. Nebraska City's favorable position and good trail made it an important link to the west. Since that beginning, the city became established as a regional transportation, economic, and agriculture hub for the 3-state area. Additional forms of transportation were important, including the steam wagon and the first locomotive engine of the Midland Pacific. J. Sterling Morton came to Nebraska City in 1855 to edit the Nebraska City News. Originally from Michigan, he and his wife Caroline were lovers of nature. Morton served as Secretary of Agriculture under President Grover Cleveland's administration, and in 1872 he was instrumental in establishing the annual tree planting day, Arbor Day. Governor Robert Furness of Nebraska issued the first Arbor Day proclamation on March 31, 1874. The holiday is celebrated around the world. Nebraska City has its own hospital, St. Mary's Hospital. As the county seat, it has the courthouse and associated county offices. Geography. Nebraska City is located at 40.67611 degrees north, 95.85972 degrees west, 40.67611 minus 95.85972 on the western bank of the Missouri River. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 4.69 square miles. All land. Demographics. 2010 census. As of the census of 2010, there were 7,289 people, 2,960 households, and 1,867 families residing in the city. The population density was 1,554.2 inhabitants per square mile. There were 3,265 housing units at an average density of 696.2 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 91.5% white, 0.4% African American, 0.3% Native American, 0.7% Asian, 0.2% Pacific Islander, 5.3% from other races, and 1.6% from 2 or more races. Hispanic Latino of any race were 10.9% of the population. There were 2,960 households, of which 30.7% had children under the age of 18 living with them. 46.1% were married couples living together. 11.6% had a female householder with no husband present. 5.3% had a male householder with no wife present, and 36.9% were non-families. 31.5% of all households were made up of individuals, and 15.9% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.37, and the average family size was 2.97. The median age in the city was 40.9 years. 24.4% of residents were under the age of 18, 7.6% were between the ages of 18 and 24, 22% were from 25 to 44, 26.2% were from 45 to 64, and 19.7% were 65 years of age or older. The gender makeup of the city was 47.3% male and 52.7% female. 2000 census. As of the census of 2000, there were 7,228 people, 2,898 households, and 1,872 families residing in the city. The population density was 1,633.6 people per square mile. There were 3,154 housing units at an average density of 712.8 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 96.00% white, 0.37% African American, 0.30% Native American, 0.37% Asian, 0.07% Pacific Islander, 2.01% from other races, and 0.87% from 2 or more races. Hispanic Latino of any race were 4.40% of the population. There were 2,898 households, out of which 31.0% had children under the age of 18 living with them. 51.3% were married couples living together. 10.2% had a female householder with no husband present, and 35.4% were non-families. 30.7% of all households were made up of individuals, and 16.1% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.40, and the average family size was 3.01. In the city, the population was spread out, with 25.8% under the age of 18, 7.4% from 18 to 24, 25.4% from 25 to 44, 22.3% from 45 to 64, and 19.0% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 39 years. For every 100 females there were 89.9 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 85.0 males. As of 2000, the median income for a household in the city was $34,952, and the median income for a family was $42,860. Males had a median income of $29,507 versus $19,859 for females. The per capita income for the city was $16,969. About 6.3% of families and 9.3% of the population were below the poverty line, including 12.0% of those under age 18 and 7.7% of those age 65 or over. Government. Nebraska City has a mayor-commission government system. Nebraska City is currently the only municipality in the state of Nebraska that has a commissioner form of government. The Nebraska City Commissioner model does not utilize representatives from precinct divisions of the city. The commissioners are elected citywide. Each has a specific departmental role. These roles are Mayor, Finance Commissioner, Parks and Recreation Commissioner, Public Works Commissioner, and Streets Commissioner. The city is split between the 1st and 2nd state legislative districts, and as of 2015 was represented by state senators Dan Wortmeyer and Bill Kintner in the Nebraska Legislature. Events. Nebraska City is known as the home of Arbor Day. In Nebraska City is Arbor Lodge, home of the first Secretary of Agriculture of the United States, J. Sterling Morton, who promoted the planting of trees on the prairie for shade, fruit, and windbreaks. The National Arbor Day Foundation has its headquarters near his home in Nebraska City. Each year, the Applejack Festival in Nebraska City takes place on the third weekend of September. The event has been held for over 40 years. It includes such events as a parade, a classic car show, carnival rides, the Applejack Fun Run, walk, a quilt show, and craft shows and events all around the city and surrounding area. In 2011, a turnout of 40–50,000 visitors was expected. Education. The first high school in Nebraska was established in Nebraska City in 1864. Nebraska City has a public and a Catholic school system. Nebraska City Public Schools offers K-12 education. The high school has an enrollment of about 445. Its athletic teams are the Pioneers. It is a member of the Eastern Midlands Conference. Lourdes Central Catholic Schools also provides K-12 education, with a total enrollment of about 330 in all grades. Its athletic teams are the Knights. The Nebraska Center for the Education of Children Who Are Blind or Visually Impaired was founded in 1875 and today serves students across Nebraska and western Iowa. Notable people: Brett Clark, professional football player; Lloyd Fawlers, anthropologist at University of Chicago; Leland Haywood, Hollywood and Broadway agent and theatrical producer; Monroe Leland Haywood, United States Senator from Nebraska and grandfather of Leland Haywood; George H. Heck, lawyer and U.S. Congressman; John Henry Cargie, second-in-command in John Brown's 1859 raid on the U.S. Arsenal at Harper's Ferry and created station at the Mayhew Cabin for the Underground Railroad; Mitch Crank, professional football player; Joy Morton, son of J. Sterling Morton, founder and namesake of Morton Salt; Julius Sterling Morton, founder of Arbor Day and former U.S. Secretary of Agriculture under President Grover Cleveland; Paul Morton, son of J. Sterling Morton and younger brother of Joy Morton. From 1904–1905 he served as Secretary of the Navy under Theodore Roosevelt. Previous to this, he had been Vice President of the Santa Fe Railroad. Stephen Nuckols, co-founder of Nebraska City; Greg Orton, professional football player; Pete Ricketts, 40th Governor of Nebraska, a former Chief Operating Officer of Ameritrade, Republican nominee in the 2006 Nebraska U.S. Senate race; Jarrett T. Thorne, Wisconsin State Legislator,